Hi, my name is Kees and I help people from doing to being. And today I'm here with a video about anger in a process of surrendering. So what I'm doing, I'm walking a certain path. And that certain path is a path that you could say is the path of surrender or the path of acceptance. And it is related or inspired by Advaita Vedanta or non-duality. Advaita Vedanta is one philosophy, you could say, or way of living. It's the Indian way of living of non-duality, and it's just the one I've been most exposed to, but you could say I'm following the path based on non-duality, which I've explained lots of times, but I'll do very shortly, which is the idea of oneness. And when we're one with other people and we're understanding that there is oneness, we're understanding as well that there is not a person. And that sense of personhood is what you could call ego. And how that works, how does ego work, or how does the idea that there is a person come about? Well, that is happening in a certain way. And the certain way is that you have identification with the individual experience that there is through the five senses. And through that identification, we create a person that has beliefs, that has a history, that has certain ideas. And that identification has been built up for years and years and years. It has been rehearsed. All those beliefs and ideas have been rehearsed for years and years and years. So if you're on a path like surrender or acceptance, based on non-duality like I am, then what practically happens is that you try to not identify with any thoughts or feelings or ideas or beliefs that come up. Not to believe in them, but just to let them go, let them be. Sometimes they're useful, but I'm not going to use it, as in, it's not that I'm going to determine what's going to be done. So this is a very strange way to describe it, but I've realized that I'm consciousness and everything is consciousness. And what we can then do, because everything is consciousness, is let circumstances be, let ideas be, let thoughts be, let feelings be, and not try to mingle in them, not try to control so much, but just let it be. And through that, I find myself more relaxed, more loving, more caring. And it's a sort of surrender to life, you could say. Surrendering or living your true nature, you could also say. And what I've noticed recently is some feelings of anger coming up. And what I know, what is angry, I know what is angry, and what is angry is actually is my ego. These ideas, sort of, that there's still some resonance of belief in those ideas, they have a sort of resonance, they have a sort of investment, personal investment, that is sometimes still there, or that is being triggered, or I'm being made aware of that, or somehow there's just, this investment from investing in this idea over and over. And one of the things I've noticed is when I don't act like or I don't act on certain thoughts, that there is a sort of anger there. A sort of anger like, why don't you live your life like you wanted it to be? Mm. So let me clarify that. In the past, when I was a young boy, I had a sort of wish list of life, you could say. I wanted a good career, lots of money, to be successful, to have a nice woman or girlfriend, to have a family, to have lots of sex, to go out a lot, to look cool, to be young forever, etc., etc., etc. So all these ideas. And all these ideas were something I acted upon. I acted and tried to realize those ideas. And I did that through strategizing, through forcing myself to do things, through disciplining myself. And I think I did this from maybe age 15 onwards or something like that. I think I tried to stop that or reverse that when I had my spiritual awakening in 2000. I think it was 2014. At least about 6 years ago. So I was 27. I'm 33. Just turned 33 last month. And what happened is I understood in my awakening, I understood that through believing my thoughts and through believing my problems, I created problems for myself. I created resistance for myself. I created pain for myself. And I tried to let that go from that point onwards. And one of the things which really came up for me is that this, at that point, was this idea of forcing myself through discipline and strategizing to get to a certain outcome which I had in mind was painful and was making me not enjoy the moment, was making me actually not live, you could say. I was making myself a sort of slave to my ideas, of what is good or what is bad, or what would be a good outcome or what is a bad outcome. I think the mind does this automatically, this creation of sort of ideas and goals. But what was the whole flip for me, or the switch for me, which I think in a way I'm still recovering from that, or not in a way, I'm still recovering from that, is this undoing of that investment in doing. Because at the beginning in the intro, I help people from doing to being, and I do. What I help them with is try to flow a little bit more, try to be a little bit more. Instead of this idea of doing, where you're forcing yourself based on what you think is good, sort of forcing that in or strategizing that in. And it's not that this is a bad thing. It's just a phase in personal development, you could say. Where you go from a sort of spiritual, you go from a personal development where you sort of try to enhance the person that's not really there, like we just discussed in Nonduality. Try to enhance basically the individual experience, and through enhancing the individual experience based on results, what you get is you can get a certain outcome, but it doesn't create an intrinsic happiness. It doesn't create a love of life. It does not. well, not in not in my case, but in a very conditional life. So if I do my things today, then I'm happy about my day. If I don't, I'm unhappy. And recently, I've been really letting go of this fixing mindset, of this idea of something comes up like anger or pain, and then going into using a tool like, meditation or breathing exercises or energy work or something to try to fix that, like it is a problem. I'm trying to release myself from this fixing mode, and it's working very, very well for me. But what I've noticed is that I get more, because I'm no longer sort of entertaining my ego, you could say. My ego is getting angry, you could say, because it's not getting listened to. It's not getting it's not getting the same food for thought. It's not getting the same investments. I'm no longer believing as much in the problems that I used to create for myself. And I think, in a way, kept creating. Because my surrendering journey started with more surrendering on the level of action. So really surrendering what the body wants to do. So surrendering of what I eat, how much exercise I do, surrendering all these different things, but more my actions, how much work I do, things like that. And with surrender comes some freedom, and it can feel amazing. But it can also feel a little bit bad, because when your ego is really resisting that freedom, because there is some sort of residue of belief in I should do this, I should do that, then it can feel like a sort of battle. And you don't want to battle with the ego, you want to hear it and say, hey, I hear you. But it is a normal thing that you experience some resistance. So when you try some of the things I talked about, like the letting go, or understanding that there is not really a person there, so you can let go of these layers that come up, like thoughts and beliefs and ideas and feelings and actions and things like that, and let be a little bit more instead of try to do always, then yes, you start experiencing more freedom, more love, usually less thoughts, and definitely you can notice more. You can start being more sensitive to life. You can start noticing other people more. You can just have a better life in general. But there are moments when this sort of resistance come up. And these are the moments that you can, in a loving way, let some of the ego investment go. And let's say a thought comes like, what should I do with work? Right? What should I do? And then that's a sort of, you could say that's an ego investment, where you usually would try to plan and plan what you would do, think about it for a long time, then discipline yourself or do a certain thing. And then when that comes up, then is the time to let go of that, to to not entertain it. So the thought comes, what should I do with work? And you're just like, whew, okay. That happened. Okay. You know, like a cloud passing by in a clear sky. You don't really have to, you notice it, but you don't have to do anything with it. So when you stop reacting in this way, in the moment, it just lets go of a little bit of investment in that. And this is how your mind quiets down, of course, slowly over time. But also, this is how you can start surrendering more, start being more. But it is in a way, it's very simple, but it is also complicated. And the complication is that it's a sort of process of unbecoming or de-investing. And from 15 onwards to 27, so that's 12 years, I was really hardcore into discipline and forcing myself to do things. And the last 6 years, I've been, especially let's say the last 5 or 4 years, but from my spiritual awakening onwards, I noticed from the beginning I could not force myself in the same way. And then after a year, I really understood cognitively, mentally, that it's a bad thing to try to force myself to do things, because it not only doesn't work, but it gives me a lot of resistance and pain. So I stopped doing that, and I still do my taxes. I still make videos like this. I still teach classes. I had a job while I was doing this as well. So it's not like you can't do anything anymore. That's totally not the case. But I stopped forcing myself to do it in a certain way, in a certain intention. And that gave me a lot of freedom. But also, it just takes, that was my point, it just takes time. It just takes time. So for 6 years, I've been trying to de-invest in this system. And that's just a daily thing where thoughts come up and you just try to let them be, let them go. Not try to entertain an idea of I should do this, I should do that, this has to happen, etc. So for me, like I said, I've been experiencing a lot of resistance of the ego, some anger regarding to just how life is going. And I used to have a very big habit to sort of mentally watch what is happening, what should I do with that, and analyzing based on that. I'm trying to let that go as well. But that is sort of now something where I feel the pain of that de-investment, you could say. The de-investment in that analyzing, that strategizing, that forcing, which I'm not doing anymore in the same way. That that's painful. That de-investment of the ego, or some even say the dying of the ego, or to let a little piece die, I think is a better wording. That letting a little piece of ego die, that is painful. I created a video about the death of the ego. So I'll link that below. And a little bit about the process. And also, I've created a grounding meditation which has helped me a lot since my spiritual awakening. And that is just helping for me to keep my energies grounded, to keep me in my body, to feel strong in my body, to not be, too much people that are spiritual people are just floating a little bit with their energies, not focusing on their body. And that focus on the body keeps you in the body, keeps you energized in the body, and keeps you moving throughout the day. So that grounding is really important to me. It's one of the breakthroughs I've had in after my spiritual awakening, to feel a lot better and less tired. A lot of people that have had a spiritual awakening or had a spiritual awakening feel tired because you could say they've lost some sort of connection with their bodies. Not lost the connection with their body, because obviously they're there, not dead, but that the soul is not really connecting through the body energy. So the grounding meditation is perfect for that, also to feel more energized in general. I'm having I make some jokes as well at the end, so feel free to check that out. I'll link that below, and thank you so much for watching and taking the time to hear me stumble a little bit about these subjects, about anger coming up, about what I'm experiencing, about this fixing mindset, which I think a lot of people have that are familiar with spirituality or meditation, that they use that as a crutch. I've definitely done that I used energy work mostly as a crutch, but also meditation, to try to fix bad feelings. And it feels like it helps, but it doesn't help, because it keeps you in the same place of not facing those emotions, of not surrendering completely to what life is offering you. And it also depends, of course, on which path you are. If you're on a similar path as I am, then I would recommend against doing that to fix something. But I would again go back to surrendering, to letting go, to knowing that there is no person there, that there is nothing that you can be hurt with, that you are awareness itself, and that you just see what happens. And if meditation happens, totally fine. If it doesn't happen, that's also okay. But don't see it as an excuse for your mind to panic and think, oh, bad feelings, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, and strategize again, force yourself in meditation. Yeah, it's sort of the mind coming in again, try to fix things. It's very subtle. So, yeah. My blessings to you, my love to you. I hope you do my grounding meditation, or just have fun in life. That's even better than doing my meditation. Okay. Much love. Bye-bye.